I'm excited by the topic, law and order, because there is no functional society or group or organization without law and order. You know, there are some pronounced, proclaim order laws, and there are some orders, and there are some laws people just expect you to know. But in either way, we can't go far without law and order. And we are located right now at the HMT. HMT means History Makers Training. God created all of us to become an history maker. God created all of us to be great. I think people in this auditorium will agree that it's God's will for us to be great. Of course, greatness must be defined because there are different ways of defining greatness. But in this sense, it's making an impact. Greatness in this sense is making an impact. Greatness is knowing why you are here. Greatness is developing your talents, your gifts to the maximum possible level that you can do. Greatness is fulfilling your purpose on earth. And I personally believe that our purposes are elastic. We can stretch them as far as we want, as we know, as we are able to do. So in this sense, greatness doesn't really mean popularity. Greatness doesn't mean what people require, what people think greatness is in the world. Because the world's understanding of greatness is a little bit different from God's understanding of greatness. If you remember, Jesus said, he who would like to be the greatest amongst you should be what? The servants of all. So we can add another definition to greatness, that is the ability to serve, the ability to serve. So we are talking about being great in the sight of God. And being great in the sight of God is basically living for your purpose, having a consensus with God, living a fulfilled life, a happy life, regardless of outward situations, outward circumstances, just loving yourself, loving God, knowing why you are here, overcoming the fear of death, living every day as if it's your last day, and just have godliness and be content with what you have. So that's the scope of greatness. That's the scope of greatness we'll be looking at. And it's God's will for all of us, for everybody on earth, regardless of where they are, to be great. There is a seed of greatness in everybody. There is a seed of greatness in everybody. All of us, we have a mission. Before I became a leader, when I hear something like there is a seed of greatness in everybody, I don't really understand it. I was thinking, well, there might be a seed of greatness in some people, but I don't think I have a spectacular seed of greatness. But as I develop myself as a leader, I've come to understand that, and I've come to accept that in everybody there is a seed of greatness. Of course, we have to plant the seed, we have to water the seed, we have to work on ourselves, then the greatness will manifest. But when I was doubting if I had a seed of greatness, I was timid, I was shy, I was expecting miracles, I believe in luck, and because I wasn't seeing a lot of these things, I was thinking, well, some people might be talented, some people might be gifted, but here I am, born in Africa, growing up in an average family. I'm just not lucky. I'm just not lucky. But looking back now, it's so interesting that I could think like that, and I believe there's still a lot of people thinking like that. But the truth is, and the fact is, all of us, all of us, all the people on this earth, all the people on different continents, regardless of their status, we have this seed of greatness in us. And it's up to us, left to us, to get the knowledge we need to grow this seed, to develop it so that the fruit of greatness will start to manifest in our life. People will not see the seed. Seeds are normally tiny. You know, you have seeds in different sizes, but really, seeds are normally small compared to the fruit. So it's when the fruit of greatness starts manifest that people will say, "Oh, that's a great person. That's a legend." But really, we all have the seed in us, and we have to keep on, planting them. We have to plant this seed until our last breath. And we have to water this seed until our last breath. And, it's written in Revelation that there is this tree in heaven that brings forth fruit every month. So we have to continuously bring in forth the fruit of God's greatness that is in us. And this seed of greatness is different for each one of us. Science has proved it that we are all different. And I saw something recently that says in all the earth, to find somebody that looks exactly like you, I mean, in all the earth, and I think we are talking about maybe 7 billion. What's the population of the world now? Is it 7? It's still around 7, right? And we are talking about 7 billion people. I saw something. I can't verify the authenticity of it, but it says to find somebody that really, 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 really looks like you. The probability of finding somebody that really looks like you in so many ways is about 6 to the 7 billion people. So it's very minute, it's very small. And that's why we're all different. If we look at all of us in this room, we're definitely different. Some people will come and say, "Oh, they are all black, they are the same." But we know we are different, and that's why we're able to differentiate. I know this is Regina, I know this is another person, just we are different. And all the 7 billion people, they are different. And the closer you get to know people, the more you are able to underline, the more you are able to notice this difference. So this seed of greatness is not a general seed of greatness. It's like handmade. It's like handcrafted. It's like an exclusive order kind of seed of greatness. And that's why it's very important for all of us to know why we are here, and to know that it's not very easy to duplicate us. Sometimes we think, okay, if I don't do it, another person will do it. Really, yeah, another person will do it, but that person will not do it with your touch. We all have our different touch, and these are the things that make us spectacular. These are the things that make us great. These are the things that make us different. So I believe that you all know that it's God's will for us to be great. I believe that you know that you have a seed of greatness in you, but not only in you, everybody we see around us. So as we walk on our seed of greatness, we also walk on the seed of greatness of the people around us. And that's why we're able to be a motivator. That's why we're able to be a leader. And that's why we're able to encourage people. That's why we're able to lift people up. That's why we're able to make people to feel human around us. That's why we're able to make people to feel special around us, because we also notice, we also recognize, we also respect the seed of greatness that is in them, and we also realize our responsibility in respect to the seed of greatness that is in them, and we try to do our best to see if there's any way we can help to encourage the growth of the seed of greatness that is in them. In Revelation, I think it's 1:5, around that area, it says of Jesus that he has made us king and priest unto our God. And I also think somewhere in Leviticus, it's mentioned something like the kingdom of priests and kings. And this is also confirming the fact that we are all special people. God sees us all as priests. God sees us all as king, because God is the King of kings and he gives birth to kings. God is the greatest, the highest high priest. And, like produces like. So that's how he sees us. Of course, we have some people in what we call the fivefold ministry. There are different calling of priesthood. We know that. But all of us, God sees us as priests. There is no mediator now between us and Christ. There is no mediator between us and God. And that's why our faith in God is not limited to a building. It's not limited to a nation. We can speak to God at any time. We can exercise our faith at any time. Of course, fellowship is very important. Communion is very, very important. It has its own space. It has its own place in our life. It has the kind of strength that it gives us, but it's not limited. God, the faith we have in God is an individual faith and at the same time a corporate faith. It's just like a human being. We call ourselves a social being because there are some traits that we cannot perfect. There are some traits we cannot really develop without being in a social place. But at the same time, everybody is also an individual person. So we are in between these two ends. We have to know who we are as an individual person, and we also have to be able to relate to our environment, because if we don't relate to our environment, there won't be give and take. If we don't relate to our environment, who are we going to give to? And if we don't relate to our environment, who are we going to take from? Well, life is about giving and taking, and healthy relationship is a relationship where there is a good give and take, and that spreads to all kind of relationship. And it's the same thing with our faith in God. Yeah, when the worst comes to the worst, we must be able to stand alone. But there are a lot of provisions for us in fellowshipping. A lot of provisions. So we must be able to find that balance. And I will tell you, there is nowhere on earth where you have it all good. And that's why we have a brain. That's why we have God. That's why we have judgment to choose. Somewhere in Isaiah, speaking about Jesus, it said, until he learns to choose good and refuse evil. And all our life is about making judgment to choose good and refuse evil. We will always see evil around us, but it's our responsibility to refuse it. And if you remember the prayer of Jesus in John chapter 17, he said, I'm not asking you to take them out of this world, but I'm asking you to keep them from the evil of this world. And there's another scripture, I think that is in 1 John, that says the whole world lies in evil. So God knows that the whole world lies in evil. We as Christians, we know there are a lot of evil on the earth, but God says, Jesus said, don't take them away. Just give them victory over the evil. So the stronger we are with God, the more learned we are in God, the more we learn to choose good, the good in our family, the good in our culture, the good in our churches, the good in our nations, and refuse the evil, because Jesus himself had to do that. So we are all God's kings and priests, and this is where our self-esteem comes from. Let's take an example of a family with multiple children, 3, 6, 8. Some families, they have up to 12 children. And all those children, they are special. All those children are children. All those children, they are entitled to equal rights because they are born in that family, because we are created in Christ, in God's likeness, because we are created in God's image. That's the way God sees all of us. We are all great kings and priests in our different area of giftedness and calling. This is very, very important. We are not kings in one place. Normally, you can't have two kings in a place. Just like we say, you cannot have two captains in a ship. It has to be one. So, but God has given us different talents. God have given us different skills. Some other skills we acquire. God has given us different giftedness. God has placed us in different areas of life, in different sphere of life. God has spread us out. Just like in a society you have different areas, you have different ministries, you have different sub-ministries, you have different units, because all these things are important, and you need specialists in all these different areas. So it's the same thing in life. God makes sure that he spreads out his giftings, his talents, so that nobody will suffer, so that everything will be covered, and it's very good. So we know, and that saves us from getting intimidated by other people. That saves us from feeling jealous about other people. We can't be everything at the same time. I mean, you can't be a doctor, you can't be a lawyer, you can't be an accountant at the same time. You may have the skill, but you won't be very, very effective. There are few things we can join together. So there will always be dominating talents. There will always be dominating gifts. And those are the things, there will be things we are best at. So those are the things we have to concentrate on. Make sure we sharpen them. Make sure we work on them to the maximum level possible for us. And just stay on your post. Stay on your ground. We can be everything. And when we know that we can be everything, we're able to rejoice, we're able to celebrate other people, because we have our own place, we have our own topic, we have our own specialties. So this is what I mean by saying we are all great kings, we are all great priests, but in our different area of giftedness and calling. So we don't look down on other people. We don't want to get all the attention all the time. We know that when our time comes, when it is time for our topic, we know we will treat it very well. So it is normal to be great. Remember, our topic is greatness through discipline. Greatness through discipline. So it is normal to be great. It is normal to greatness should be desired. It is normal to have high goals. It is normal to paint a very nice, good picture of your life. It is normal to view your family as a great family, your ministry as a great ministry, your specialty as a great specialty. Actually, we must always aim for the best. We must always aim for the best, and with God's help, we will get the best of the best that we are able to get. So it is normal. We shouldn't be robust. We shouldn't be intimidated. We shouldn't just seek the average things of life. No, we have to dream, to have great ministry, to have great career, to have great faith, to have great family, to have great environment. It is okay. It is normal, because that is God's will for us. At least we must dream it. We must walk towards it. And God, I always tell people, God will correct it. So let's aim high. And God will always correct our plans. God will always correct our vision. So do we have any contribution to this first slide?
In fact, I think one of the last statements you just made now, just like, it was just like a light bulb moment for me, because I've always believed, and coming from the background I came from, that in a way you have to like wait until you see the vision. As in, God will give you the full vision. You actually know, okay, this is my purpose in life before you take a step. But what you've just said in a simple statement, that be bold, go out there, do something, and as you do it, God will correct you.
Absolutely.
And God will guide you. It's completely a different concept, because I know from the church I'm coming from, although I don't know if it's deliberate or if it's just, but the way they present it as you have to like sometimes wait, fast, pray, then maybe God will maybe whisper it to you or show you in a vision, and you have to have that clarity of what your purpose in life. And that's why you see a lot of people will just kind of like sit back, and when you ask them, they'll tell you, oh, I've not discovered God's purpose for my life, or I'm still waiting on God for God's purpose. But this is a different concept, and I know that following DSA in a few months, I was beginning to get it from snippets from his books. And you just saying it nice, just like a nail. You just hit the nail on the head and sealed it, as in take the step, and as you move along, God, as long as your purpose, you have a good desire,
a good heart
to serve God, to work in His kingdom. As you take that step, God will begin to correct you.
Absolutely.
And begin to lead you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Just like we deal with our children or people under us, they have to do something, then we correct them. And there is even these principles of raising disciples. First, you show them what to do. They watch you doing it. Second, you do it together. Third, they do it on their own. And while they are doing it, you are able to correct them. And then fourth, after the correction, then they just do it on their own. So that's the principle of duplicating ourselves. First, you show them, okay, well, I'm still not very good at tying, what do you call it? Tie, yeah, I'm still not very good. It's a kind of crazy system of tying tie. Yeah, but like for example, if you have a male child or just a male, you need to teach him how to tie the tie. First, you show the person how to do it. Then you like do it together. Then you say, okay, do it now yourself while I'm watching. I'm watching attentively, carefully, and I'm correcting you. Either you allow the person to tie the tie and say, okay, look at it. Do you like it? Okay. Then you show the person where he got it wrong. Then you say, do it again. Then after sometimes the guy will be doing it without you. That's how we multiply ourselves.
Wow.
Also, I want to say this. You see, life is very deep. Life is very deep. And that is why we need God every hour. We need God every time. You see, the principle you just mentioned about waiting to get something from God, there is a place for it in life. You see, there are some areas in life where we need to apply that. When it comes to marriage, for example, you don't just go out and pick any lady and say, okay, along the line we'll correct it. You don't do that. So there are areas in life where there are sound laws, where we have to wait, where we have to watch, praying and asking God, should I go? Yeah, there are areas that are, but most of the other areas we have to see the need, or we feel that God is leading us to doing something, then we go and do it, and prayerfully asking God to guide our steps to, like Jesus said in the Lord's Prayer, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So there is, we just have to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit. We have to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit. But believe me, there are enough things to do now. There are enough things to do. There will be areas in your life where, you have to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit. But those are few in comparison to the things we can already do now. Yeah. So that would be the clarification I will bring to you. Okay, can we move to the next slide? Is everybody satisfied? Yeah? Okay. So, all right. So, greatness doesn't envy nor fight others. Actually, I covered that already. If we really understand the meaning of greatness, uh, if we really understand the meaning of greatness, we'll find that greatness, you don't really have to prove yourself. You don't really have to compare yourself to other people in a negative way. You don't have to envy. I've spoken about it because you know who you are, and you know you cannot be everybody. You cannot have all kind of cars, you know, and new cars are coming out. I don't know, is it every year or new fashion? Fashion is coming out all the time. New style, new approach. Yeah, we have to. I mean, we have to be modernized, but you just know that you can't have everything. And once you know that you can't have everything, you will be content. You will be satisfied with your line, with where you are. So you won't envy, you won't fight other people. You will just continue to walk on your greatness. God has given you a ground to till. You will continue tilling your ground, dressing your ground, keeping your ground, because that is what God will ask from you. God will not ask from you another person's, account. God will ask for you, what have you done with the talents, with the things He has given you. So it's very important. I've also covered the next thing, that greatness is not intimidated by others. I mean, it's just not intimidated by others. It doesn't matter who has gathered, who has not gathered. Yeah, we respect. God teaches us to think about other people higher than ourselves. Respect should always be there, but we should never be intimidated by any other person. For example, maybe you are invited to a workshop and there will be different speakers. If you don't understand the principle of greatness, when you hear about some name, you will feel cold and you will ask, may I not participate? But if you know what is greatness, you know that nobody will say it the way you will say it. Even if the people who will talk before you will even use the same quote you've planned to use, will use the same scripture reference you've planned to use, still greatness is content. Greatness has a good self-esteem, and greatness will still work. So it's not intimidated by others. Greatness is not intimidated by people who are worthier than they. Greatness is not intimidated by people who are more educated than them. Greatness is not intimidated by people who have seen far more things than them. Greatness knows where he is. Greatness knows that he's working on himself. And greatness knows that he has something he can give now. He has something, or she has something she can contribute to what we have now. So I want to believe that we will understand what this means. Greatness, of course, is synonymous to success, and we know that the way the world defines success is different from the way God defines success. Greatness is inherent in us. We've spoken about it. Actually, greatness is within. Yeah, greatness is within, and greatness is safer within us, because all the things outward that are outside, they are prone to change. They have a lot of pressure on them, and I believe that is why greatness must start from within. Then we will not be affected by the wind, like it's written in the Bible, tossed to and fro. So we must first find the greatness that is within us, and know that it doesn't manifest automatically. Yeah, we have all the provision. We are born into a very wonderful kingdom of God, but it doesn't happen automatically. And that confirms the topic of this workshop that says greatness through discipline. So greatness comes by disciplining ourselves, by working on ourselves. It doesn't come just by believing just by believing. It doesn't come just by believing, because even Bible says faith without work is dead. There is a place for believing, yeah, because without faith it is impossible to please God. Without this world is built on faith. Everything is built on faith. So faith is very important. Belief is very important. Saying the right things, saying positive things is also very important. But the lion's share of it is doing what we have to do. Greatness comes mainly by doing what we have to do. Yeah, we have to complement it by believing. We have to complement it by saying the right thing, because it would be crazy to say, okay, I'm against just professing, or I'm against just confessing. So instead of saying, God will help you, you start saying, oh, God will not help me. I mean, that is just crazy. So those things, they have their place, but their place is minute. It's minute. Sometimes God does miracles by just believing, not doing anything. When he sees that, you are in a confined state, God does miracle by you just confessing. Yeah, but even sometimes when you confess, God will bring you into a situation where you will still need to do something. But the lion's share is in doing what you have to do, and then complementing with all the other things we are used to. Okay, do we have any contribution to this slide? Or we can move on. I need to hear from you. Any feedback, or we can move on? We can move on. Thank you. Okay. We just said that greatness should be desirable. We said it's God's will for us to be great. And in this slide now, we see Jesus' example. When Angel Gabriel went to Mary to proclaim the birth of Jesus Christ. In Luke chapter 1, verse 32 and 33, these are some of the word that he said, that the angel said. Talking about Jesus that will be born. So he said, Jesus will be great and will be called the Son of the Highest, the Son of God. And the Lord God will give him the throne of his father David. And he will reign over the house of Jacob forever. And of his kingdom there will be no end. So now we are used to saying, okay, Jesus is my example. I want to be like Christ. I want to be like Jesus. So if we want to be like Christ, if we want to be like Jesus, Jesus will be great. Jesus lives in us, so Jesus should be great in us, and Jesus' greatness should manifest through us. So of Jesus, it was also said that he will be great. And you can imagine what God will say about you, what God will say about me. It will still be the same thing. Maybe the purpose, maybe the calling will be a little bit different, but the Father will be great. All the people God called, and I believe he's still calling, he sees them as greatness. He sees them as greatness because greatness is very important on the earth. Remember, greatness is connected to your purpose. It's connected to you knowing why you are here, knowing why you are doing what you are doing. Because if you don't know it will be very difficult for you. You will be changing career every 3 years. You'll be changing places every 3 years, because any form of irritation, any form of challenges will just throw you at the edge. So it's very important. Any contribution to this, or we can move on? Move on, right? Okay. The next example is John the Baptist example. When I can't remember. Is it also Angel Gabriel that went to? Yeah. Okay. So when Angel Gabriel went to, is it Zachariah? We call it in English. Yeah. Went to Zacharias, and he also prophesied, telling him that he will have a child. Well, it was hard for him to believe because they've been barren for many years, and And then it started like describing what the child will be, whom the child will become. And in Luke chapter 1, verse 15 and 16, the angel said, "For John the Baptist will be great in the sight of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink. He will also be filled with the Holy Spirit, even from his mother's womb. And he will turn many of the children of Israel to the Lord their God." You see, here also we can see that the calling, the purpose of John the Baptist is a little bit different from Jesus's, but they all hand at the same time. It's about, Jesus, for example, saving people from their sin. John the Baptist turning the heart of people back to God. So from this example, we see that true greatness and real greatness is greatness in God's eyes, is the greatness in God's eyes. People outwardly might see you as great, but if God won't confirm your greatness, you are not really great. And that is why we have to find our greatness in God. It has to start from within. If we have it inside, it will manifest, and it will manifest for a long time. So we have to seek more of God's confirmation, of God's acceptance, more than people's acceptance. And also from this passage, we see that it takes discipline to be great. Because here, the angel said, John the Baptist will be great. And some of the things he will do to confirm his greatness is that he will not indulge in bad habits. He will not drink wine. He will not wine or strong drink. So that is a prototype of bad behavior, bad habits. It takes discipline not to indulge in them. And if we don't indulge in dangerous and bad habits, that is a sign of greatness. That is a sign of greatness. It takes discipline to turn many to God. Because sometimes when you are working with people, when you are evangelizing, or when you are correcting people, people might say something like, "Leave me alone, it's my life, I have my life to live." And sometimes we may get discouraged. It's very easy to get discouraged and just keep to ourselves. But the Bible says it will turn many of the children of Israel to the Lord. And if we work with people, we need discipline to keep working with people, because it's a very difficult, it's difficult and a complex kind of management working with people, because people are self-sufficient, people have their own mind, people have their own brain. We cannot see fully into people's inside. We cannot see fully into people's heart. People can outwardly portray a message, while inwardly they are on totally an opposite viewpoint and things like that. But to still be able to help a certain amount of people, we need to be disciplined. We need to know why we are doing it, for what we are doing it, and not affecting the negative or the unappealing countenance, emotion of the people to stop us from being disciplined in correcting, being disciplined in turning the heart of people towards God. Do we have any contribution to this slide? Any comment about Jesus' example and John the Baptist's example of greatness? Or do you want me to be calling names? Anything so far? Okay, let's hear from Joba. Oh, sorry, you raised your hand. Let's give the mic to. Do you have? Where is the mic? Please get the mic. Is it on? Ah, yeah, you have to come out, right?
Uh, from your description of greatness, with the example of John the Baptist, I began to understand when applying it to our daily lives, the reason why some habits needs to be dropped. Unlike the concept of dropping habits on the basis of religious activities, or like when you say to somebody, if you're born again, you don't drink alcohol. So people attach it to not to being born again. That's why you're not drinking alcohol. But basically, it's because of the purpose. It's because of the mission. It's because of who you are that defines what you do and what you take in. Because you don't want anything that will affect your greatness. So that's my understanding of what.
Yeah, and it's part of the discipline that will lead you to greatness. Yeah, it's not just about being a Christian. It's about the restriction you put on yourself so that you can walk on your purpose, on your vision, so that you can be strong. Okay. Discipline brings out the greatness in us. You know, like we said earlier, that we all have these seeds, wonderful, but seeds must be grown. And people won't see, people can see the seed. Few people can see the seed, but mainly people are fascinated by the fruit of greatness that is in us. And it's very important for all of us to accept this, that in our natural states, we are all kind of lawless. You know, keeping to law, keeping to order, it's not what we're excited about. And that is why our bedrooms, our closets don't look very nice like we look outwardly. You know, we are all dressed, we look cool, we look charm. But if we go to our closets, even some of you will say, don't go there, don't go there. Yeah. So in our natural states, we are all kind of lawless. We don't want to do anything. We just want things to move on their own. We don't want to lift anything from the floor. We don't want to clean. Even sometimes we feel lazy to brush our teeth. Sometimes we don't want to take our bath. I mean, we're just lazy. And so when we know that naturally we are not disciplined, naturally we are rascals, naturally we are wild animals. We are not too far from animals. Anyway, they are our younger brothers anyway. So when you know that keeps you conscious. That should motivate us to work on ourselves, because we know that if we give it slack, we won't like what we will see. So without discipline, am I the one causing the problem? Yes. Are you sure? Okay. Okay, we'll see. So without discipline, you can't work on yourself. For mechanics who work on a part, there is what we call positioning. What do you call this? I mean, you have different machines in the factory that you use to work on different parts. And there is what we call positioning on these machines. You have to position the part you want to work on. You have to lock it. You have to make sure it is well positioned. Then you are able to work on it. Because if it is not well positioned, when you start the machine and when you start working on it, it will be shaking too much. And when something is not well positioned, when it is not firm, you can't expect to do a good work on it. And you can't expect to get a good result. So it's the same thing with discipline. When we are not disciplined, it's like we are not well positioned. And there's no way a fine product will come out of us. There's no way a good product will come out of us. So the first thing in going towards greatness is to be disciplined, to be positioned, to be disciplined, to be in a place of discipline, to be in a position where you will be worked on and the result will be nice, the result will be fine. Without discipline, we will not be able to develop the skills that will take us to greatness. There are habits of highly successful people. There are habits of great people. And it takes time to develop habits. We as human beings, we are very talented, but we need time to develop certain habits. So, and that also talks about discipline. So if you are not disciplined enough, we won't just develop these skills, although we can develop them, but we won't, because we've not invested the time and we've not invested discipline. If we are disciplined, then time will work for our good, because discipline is like the right positioning. Then after a certain time, you'll get a good result. But if we are not disciplined, time will do us no good, because we will not be able to get rid of old habits. Babosha, am I the one? No. You are just saying yes. Yeah, but I'm also not touching anything. I just wanted to prove to you that I'm not the one. Look at the thing you gave me. So next time before you say yes, make some analysis and make some research. I was sure I wasn't the one, but I wanted to give a benefit of a doubt. Okay, so if we are disciplined, time will strengthen us. Time will work for us. So definition of discipline. I mean, in this case, discipline in schools is like a subject, right? But that is not the kind of discipline we are talking about. Here we are talking about the practice of training people, and people include yourself. So for me, discipline will be the practice of training myself to obey rules or a code of behavior and using punishment to correct my disobedience. So discipline is not just about disciplining other people. The first person we have to discipline is ourselves. I have to discipline myself first before disciplining other people. So discipline is a practice. Practice is not just it's not what you do one time. And I would say, if you are talking about greatness and if you are talking about discipline, it's something we must do till our last breath. So it's a practice, a daily practice of training myself to obey the rules, loving to obey the rules, not doing what my body, what my feelings want to do at default, but taking charge, becoming a human being, making decision, making judgment, choosing good, rejecting evil. So discipline is training myself to obey rules, to obey a good code of behavior, and punishing myself. Even if I don't punish myself, life will punish me anyway, for my refusal to train myself to obey the rule. So some synonyms for discipline will be control, self-control. You know, there is this passage in the Bible, it's in Proverbs, that says the person that can control himself is greater than a warrior. Is greater than a successful warrior. You know, it's greater than a soldier, is greater than a general, you know, of an army. So the ability to control yourself is very important. It's very, very important. To control the words you say, to control the thoughts in your mind, to control your behavior, it's very important. Regulations, loving regulations, knowing that there is good from regulations. And I heard someone saying not so long ago that the traffic rules we have are written with people's blood. You know, the traffic regulations we have, they are written with people's blood. You know, when you are starting a project, you will always have some regulations. Then when some things go off board, then you will start correcting the regulations, adding some things to it. There are some things we don't see immediately, but then when there is an accident, then we also add that to the traffic rule, to the traffic regulation. So we must know that regulations are not just written because somebody just woke up in the morning and said, okay, this is what I want. No, it comes from our mistakes. It comes from our social mistakes. It comes from personal mistakes, social mistakes, religious mistakes. So our view of regulations should be different. Like I'm a parent, you know, and when kids are growing up, you always give them regulations, but they don't understand. They don't understand. They think, oh, you are limiting them. But you as a mom or as a parent, you know why you are giving those regulations. You are giving those regulations from experience. You are giving those regulations from previous mistakes that was made. So we must learn to love regulations, because regulations, they come at a cost. Regulation comes at a cost. So we must love that. Discipline also. Sorry, I have to try and find my well, it won't do you good. So let's do this. While our technicians are trying to solve the problem, can we get a feedback from what we have said so far, from the definition of discipline, from the fact that discipline brings out the greatest in us, and the synonyms of greatness? Can I get some feedback from you? Who has the mic? The second mic?
In relation to the discipline that you talked about, now I realize why the government keeps on installing new CCTV cameras, new traffic lights, roundabouts, making amendments through the mistakes of mankind. And like there is a particular place in a particular junction, there's always an accident there, and all of a sudden they've now transformed it and put so much traffic lights everywhere that you must slow down once you get to that particular junction. So now I understand why new laws or regulations in order to instill that discipline in us, because obviously people drive past there, they see the accident, and you still come back the next few days, you still see another accident. So all these things were put in place so that a little bit of sanity will be in the society.
So when we say, you may have, when we see regulations, we should look at them now from a different angle. We should be thankful because other people paid a higher price for those regulations. Some people died for us to get those regulations, to know that we have to include those things in our regulation. That's how we have to see it. When they tell you don't do this, it's because some people have done it and it costs a lot. Sometimes it costs life. So we shouldn't be anti-regulation. Actually, when we get to a place, we should ask them, what are the regulations? What do I need to pay attention to? We shouldn't either shy away or move away from regulations. No, let me know, because this comes at a cost at a great cost. You wanted to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to say something, but you just mentioned something that just also occurred to me. Firstly, you mentioned something to do with time.
Okay.
And I think it's dawning more on me that we all have 24 hours, and time is constant, so time never slows down.
Okay.
But it is only through discipline that we can actually, because if we are disciplined, then we can use time to work in our favor.
Absolutely.
Time will work for us. But if we are not disciplined, then time will work against us.
Work against us.
So
yeah.
time is like, it's just there. It's neutral. So depending on how you approach it will determine how it treats you. So if you approach time with a lot of discipline, then time will be positive, will be favorable to you. But if you are like laid back, then time will not wait for you, and at the same time, it's working against you. And,
Absolutely.
yeah. And one other thing you mentioned.
Sorry, before you go to that other thing, now we're in 2018. I had an experience last year. I was dealing with an elderly person, close to 80 years old. And I noticed that at that age, there were still some not very good habits in her life. And I know that it's almost already, well, you can rewrite your story as long as you have breath, but it's more difficult to work on yourself at that age, because a lot of things are already fading away, even strength and things like that. And at that time, I told my team that if we don't get rid of some bad behaviors while we are young, they will follow us till our old age, and they will keep haunting us, on our, deathbed when we are more powerless. So we must use our youth, and the Bible says the glory of the youth is their power, their strength. So now that we are young, now that we can work on ourselves easier than in old age, we must really work on ourselves so that time will work for our benefit. Because it's so, to me, not really that it's painful, but I really feel for an elderly person who still feels irritated. Who hasn't getting hold of its temper, of its emotion. Because I believe old age is a challenge on itself, because you have to walk slowly, you're on pension, some people may forget you. You used to be maybe the center of your team, and now, so there are a lot of pressure, there are a lot of things you have to deal with just because you are old. So if you add to that your own inability to have worked on yourself when you are younger, you will really be making your old age difficult. So I was really feeling for that person at that age. So when you said that time will even work against us, that was when I remember that we must really take advantage of time, so that at old age we will still be healthy people, healthy in our decisions, healthy in our emotions, and then time will work for us than working against us. That's very important.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I wanted to mention is the fact that it just realized that if we are not disciplined, there are a lot of things we'll lose out in life without even realizing it. It just dawned on me. For example, we get immigrants that come from Africa sometimes, or from other parts of the world, into a country, and a lot of people don't even take the time to study the culture of that environment, to study the history. And it might be that you just studying the culture alone will, for example, if you're a business person, you're an African, you know that naturally whites kind of tend to stay away. But if you can understand their culture, understand their language, understand the way they think, then it's an avenue for you to even expand your customer base. But it will take discipline for you to actually sit down, go to the library, read their history, study them, study how they
talk
think,
to
talk to people and all that. So it just dawned on me that, there's a lot we might be losing in life without even realizing it by not being disciplined. So it's very, very important.
Awesome.
Good afternoon.
Please remind me of your name.
Dennis.
Dennis.
Um,
Your last name is, sorry. What's your last name? Yes. Is it your wife that is D something? What's it? Denise. Okay, I'm sorry.
another thing about discipline.
Can you bring the mic closer?
Um,
Come to the center.
Okay, another thing about discipline is routine. The synonym here is that sometimes, or rather most of the time, we should put routine into it. It says here the practice of discipline. It's something you practice, something you do over time, something that must be routinely done so that you can actually gauge or measure the results. Because if you do it haphazardly, you may not get any of the results, or you may get results that are not so balanced. So a routine is very important when it comes to discipline.
Thank you so much. So other synonyms will move fast now. Direction. So if we work in discipline, we have a direction we are going in life. Order, authority, because discipline recognizes authority in their lives. Remember the centurion in the Bible, when Jesus said, I will come and heal your servant. The centurion said, just say a word, because I'm also a man under authority. So those are disciplined people. Those are people who recognize authority. Rule, strictness. You have to be strict to discipline yourself and to discipline other people. A firm hand, routine, just mentioned, regimen, training, teaching, instruction, exercise, and use of punishment is also part of discipline. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide now. Hard work is discipline. Hard work and discipline. Hard work is greater, more important than talents. The presence of talent in one's life is a sign that we need to work hard and become great in that sphere through discipline. So having a talent, being predisposed, being able to do something easier than other people, it's not a sign to lay back. It's not a sign to be lazy, but it's really an hint for us to roll our sleeves and to work hard, to pretend as if we don't have that talent, and to work hard in that area. Because talent is already a good factor, but without hard work, talent decays. Without hard work, talent doesn't get to its peak, and the beauty of talent can come without discipline. So when we see high performers, when we see high achievers, especially maybe in public speaking or in sports, when you see very successful people, we really like the beauty of their peak performance. We love to watch it. And it seems it's so easy, but they have invested a lot of time, a lot of discipline, a lot of regime, a lot of straightness, and that's why we're able to see that beauty. Sometimes we say, oh, what a nice presentation, what a nice talk, what a nice move, what awesome. We give an ovation, but really, that is the result of those who were able to recognize their talent and saw it as a sign to work harder on it. Because they already have an edge. They already have a direction. they're already a little bit ahead of the people. But then if they will work on that, then they will be able to get to the peak. They will be able to give as a gift to their generation wonderful performance. So talent is not an excuse to lay back. Talent is not an excuse to be lazy. No. On the other hand, for a wise man, talent means I have to work hard. That it's like life is already helping me. God is already helping me here. I have a high chance of being successful here, but I must work hard because there is no greatness without hard work. So with hard work, somebody can overperform, somebody can excel, somebody can beat a person with talent. Because both the person with talent and the person without talent, they both need hard work. They both need hard work. But the person with talent is already at an advantage. But if the person with talent will not work hard, the person without talent will overtake him. That is showing the importance of working hard and not resting on one laurel. It's very important. If we discipline ourselves, if I discipline myself and work on myself, I can surpass people with talent. That is very obvious. And you see that, you can see that in languages. If for people studying a foreign language, often people studying foreign language and people who study foreign language well, they get to understand the language better than the indigenous. Because most of the time, the real native speakers, they don't study their language. You know, they just do the school curriculum. You know, they don't, most of them don't put extra effort, you know, to read a lot in that language, to find a community where they can, you know, understand the language. So that's why sometimes a foreigner can not just speak the language better, you know, can use more registered word in the language and can understand, you know, the history of the language better than the average person, apart from those who study the language at tertiary level in university. So in other areas, but you know, for native speakers, they were born into that language, they spoke it since they were young. But even if you don't challenge yourself in the area of your language, if you don't read books, if you don't listen to speeches, if you don't use new words in your native language, other people will come, you know, from the east, like the Bible says, and I mean, they will overtake you. They will start using some words in your own language. You will be asking your neighbor, what is that? Is this still speaking Dutch? Is still speaking Dutch? Yeah. So that's just an example of how we shouldn't rely on our talent. We shouldn't rely on our natural advantages and keep working on ourselves, because everything that we have and we are not using, we will eventually lose it. Hard work requires discipline, and that's why it's very good to make our lifestyle a lifestyle of discipline. You know what you're doing and you live your life in such a way that time is working for you. Discipline is hard work and it doesn't come naturally. It doesn't come naturally. We need discipline in every area of our lives. You know, physically, spiritually, personally, socially, mentally, emotionally, and in other areas of our life. Call it health-wise, career, we need discipline. Because discipline is the frame. Is the thing that gives us shape. Without discipline, there's nothing to talk about. You know, it's nothing to talk about. You know, sometimes when you are using some, what do they call it? When you are using some applications, before you can go further, they will ask you to make a click, signifying that you agree, the term of condition or something like that. Yeah, most of us don't read them, yeah, but they make sure that we sign them because there is nothing, you can't go further. If you don't sign that thing, if you don't click I agree, that's the end of that application for you. You can't move further. And in life, it's the same. We should see it the same way. Until I agree to discipline, we can't move further. We think we can move, but we cannot really move. We have to agree to the terms. We have to agree to the condition. And it starts by discipline. Discipline ourselves, knowing what we want, knowing the rules, knowing the regulations, and working on them. Yeah, sometimes you fall, we make mistakes. It takes time to learn, to acquire a skill, of course. There will be frustration on the way, but when you are disciplined, when you have a disciplined mind, it helps you to move forward. Do we have any comment to, okay. Where is the mic? Yeah, we got it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. This is one of the words that really keep me going, hard work.
Mm-hmm.
There's a quote that I like mostly. It said, hard work beat talents when talents doesn't work hard.
That's true.
This, sometimes I used to ask, the reason this word keep me going is this. There was a time I was going through something whereby I decided that, okay, here I am. I am the firstborn of the family. I am born in this family. What am I going to do for my family? I look in my life like, what am I talented? Am I talented? I ask myself, like, what am I good at? I just finished my high school. What am I good at? What can I do to change this whole generation? I've looked at myself and said, I don't really have a talent. I can't sing. I can't do anything. I can't do sport.
I can't sing.
How can I survive
I think a lot of I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think a lot of African girls, I think we go through that dilemma. We go through that dilemma. But even if you can sing, you can't sing on a professional level because you didn't take a voice coaching. And yeah, I think a lot of us, we had to go through that dilemma before we find ourselves.
And then when I come across this word saying that hard work beat talent when talent doesn't work hard, and then I said, okay, I'm going to feed myself in there. And that's where I decided that, okay, meaning if I just put more effort on myself, if I work hard, if I put my whole effort up to 100%, if I put my 100% in whatever that I want to do, I'm going to achieve it. That time I was around 25 years old. I decided that what am I going to do? And I just finished my school like few years. And then I was working for somebody. I was looking after one business. And then while I was busy looking after that business, it's like I was given to be in charge of that company. It's a clearing agent. Maybe some people know what am I talking about. Clearing agent. That man gave me that place that, okay, Regina, I want you to be in my office at that border between Namibia and Angola. And me, I'll be based in Walvis Bay, that is at the coastal area of Namibia. And then the only thing that I will need from you, every month, it doesn't matter whatever you are going to do, for you, I just want you to process the documents from the clients from Angola because it was at the border. Okay. You receive the documents, you forward the documents to me. About payment and everything, I will deal with it, unless maybe sometimes you only receive the money and then you send it to me. And then the only things about the clients, local clients, the only thing that I will need from you is a $4,000, it's now in Namibian dollars, 4,000
Namibian
Namibian dollar
dollars.
every month on my account. It doesn't matter how much you make or whatever. The only thing that I need from you is to take care of my documents, take care of the clients, send the documents to me, or receive the money if they have to do some payments, and then deposit monthly 4,000 Namibian dollar. Let me sweat. I said, opportunity never returned. That's where I started working. I wasn't wearing any shoes. I wear pluggies. I work Monday to Sunday. I don't have any time. Whatever the clients call me, it can be 12. You know, some borders, they don't really close. 6 or whatever. The moment they just say, Regina, I say, I'm coming. I work. And then, I can't say more. I don't want to say more about this. Really, I can prove it. Hard work. Hard work beat talents when talents doesn't work hard. Thank you.
Thank you. So profound. So profound. Yeah. Let's go to the next slide. Are you in agreement? Can we move on? Okay. Okay. Personal discipline is rare because it takes more effort to attain it. But it's more valuable than common discipline. You see, when we are in a public place, we tend to behave well. It's to some extent, it comes naturally because we are like aware that people are looking at us. We want to impress other people want to impress us. So we dress well to go outside. We try to be attractive. So there's a kind of communal order. There's a kind of social order. There's a kind of common discipline that we attain when we are outside or when we are even in the family, when everybody is together. But then when nobody is watching us, we feel like relaxing. We feel like this is my moment. This is my time. And that is why I wrote that personal discipline is rare. But we have to challenge ourselves to increase our personal discipline, to make it to be on the same level or even higher than the communion, that the common, than the social discipline. Because social discipline is easier to achieve. It's easier to achieve. I don't know, God made us that way, or I don't know. Yeah. But when we are on our own, we're kind of lawless. Because, you know, like I said, a common discipline is easier to achieve, right? But that's the first impression. Because we are still who we are. Who we are is really who we are as individuals. Yeah. And we can't fake it for too long. At a point, we will relax. And what we do all the time will show out. So that's a good lesson you taught your son. Good job. Good job. Okay. Greatness starts from within. I've mentioned this several times. With the greatness of character, personal character, and that's what law and order are after. Law and order are after helping us to build character. You know, helping us to love rules, to love law, to understand the purpose, the reason for it. And so that the nation, the government, the police will not be after us before we can keep the order. Once we get it, once it's inside us, then our leaders, they've achieved their goals. There is this book, Wisdom for Crisis Time. I was looking for this statistic where 84%, it's an American statistic, that 84% of workers demand constant supervision to assure the completion of their task and work. I was looking for it yesterday in the internet, and this was the link I got. So it's in this book. It should be in another article, but I couldn't find the article. So, Wisdom for Crisis Time, written by Mike Murdoch. So he quoted this in his book, saying 84% of workers in America demand constant supervision to assure the completion of their task and work. 13 to 14, I used to know 13, but in his book he wrote 13 to 14 require some supervision, not constant, but still some supervision to get the work done. And I used to know it as 3, but now in my mother's book it said, I think it said 14 and 2. Yeah, in his book it said 14 and 2, but I used to know 13 and 3. And that was why I wrote it like this. So only 2 to 3% of American workers will work and complete their task, their responsibilities, without any form of supervision whatsoever. They are self-motivated and self-disciplined. If we are aiming at becoming history makers, we have to aim at falling into this category, being part of the 2 or 3%. And that is why I wrote that self-discipline is very rare. And I, as a leader, I know it. You know, there are some people I give task, and even as I'm giving the task, I'm already supervising. I'm already reminding them. Then I have to remind them almost every day. Have you done this? I've not heard from you. How far you've gone? So I have all these 3 group of people in my team. Some people, they need some supervision, but there are some people I give job. I know that I must do the job with them. You know, I give them because I can't do it, but then I have to be on their neck to get the work done. But there are some people you can give a task to and you can go and relax. Those people, they respect themselves, you know. They respect themselves and they are disciplined. They have a system of reminder. When you are giving them a task, they write it down, but they don't just write it down to forget that they wrote it down. They write it in a place, they set the reminder immediately. If they can do the task, they tell you they can do it. If they're already overloaded, they tell you, okay, the deadline will be this, or I will help you to look for another person to do it. So this is showing us how self-discipline is so rare, and why we as history makers, we have to work hard to make sure we fall into this category. And if you train your mind to be self-disciplined, then your mind will also help you, you know, because our mind has muscles. It remembers what we do most of the time. It understands us. You understand how we want to live our life, the kind of person we want to become. So we just need to start putting the effort. Then everything in our life will also work together to help us to achieve what we need to achieve. Do we have any comments concerning this statistic, this personal discipline, the formation of character through discipline? Any feedback? Or we can move on? We can move on. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. This is a quote. It says, I think self-discipline is something. It's like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. Daniel Goldstein. And also another quote. In reading the lives of great men, I found that the first victory they won was over themselves. Self-discipline with all of them came first. This is Harry Truman. So great men notice, and studying, it said in reading, and when you study great people, you find out that their first victory is not over other people. Their first victory is over themselves, because you cannot conquer other people without you first conquering yourself. And like I said, if you start practicing discipline or any kind of discipline, it's like a muscle. Your system will remember it. Your system will help you. And the stronger it gets, meaning that time will work for you. Time will not work against you, but time will work for you. Let's have the next slide, please. So far clear? No. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Okay. This is also a quote by Dwayne Johnson. All successes begin with self-discipline. It starts with you. You know, when we are not well informed about life, we start with other people. We blame people in our life. We blame our country of origin. We blame people around us. We get irritated with everything around us. But then when we are enlightened, when we know how things work, we now understand, you know, there's something in Christianity, they say revival starts with me, right? You know, revival starts with me. You change first, then people around you will change. So it starts with us. It starts with us. It starts with us. And then it can infect other people. Let's have the next slide. Okay, it's also a quote. The only discipline that lasts is self-discipline. We've spoken about that also, because that is, there's a quote that says the only education or the real education you have is self-education. So it's synonymous to this. The real discipline you have is self-discipline. That is the discipline that you own. That is your discipline, not the discipline that was imposed on you by the law, because when the law is not there, then you become lawless. But if it's self-discipline, if it's something you have come to term with, if it's something you have accepted, then it lasts because it's part of you. You are not faking it. You are not pretending. That is the person you are. That is the person you want to become. That is the person you are working on. So the true discipline we have is self-discipline. When nobody is looking at us, when nobody is forcing us, when that is what we want. All right, let's have the next slide. It's also a quote. The first and best victory is to conquer self. You see, great men had to come to terms with this. They went through it, they experimented, and they found out that the first and the best victory that we need in life is to conquer ourselves. If we conquer ourselves, then we are victorious. That means it's more difficult. It's more difficult to conquer ourselves than conquering other people. This was said by Plato. All right, let's see the next slide. Oh, thank God it's not a quote here. Okay. The goal of law is getting things done. The purpose of law is getting things done. Law gives birth to order, discipline. And there is something Paul said in Romans, that before the law, there was no sin. Before the law, people were just living and there was no sin. But once the law came, then a new sin. Because law will always come with crime, because if you keep the law, you are okay. If you don't keep the law, that's a crime. So law gives birth to order, law gives birth to discipline, and on the other hand, law gives birth to crime. But we're not talking about that now. Law shapes us. The goal of law is order and justice. So keeping the law through discipline will help us to get things done and take us to where we need to be. Like the government, they make law to take the society to where it needs to be, to where they want it to be. Societies look the way they look thanks to the law. So we frame the society by law. We shape the society. We program the society by the law we make. So law is the method by which things get done. When somebody tells you it's the law, you just say, okay. Just say, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Because that is the law. So that means you must obey it. Law helps to create order. Law makes us orderly. Law helps us to be disciplined. And constant discipline leads us to greatness. And talking about law here, we are talking about all form of law. Natural laws. In natural law, of course, you have also physical laws, you have emotional laws, you have spiritual laws. And so it's to bring us to orderliness. It's to help us to become the person we are meant to be. It's to shape us. It's to form something good out of us. Do we have any feedback? Do you want to add anything to this? Or we can move on. You would like to. The mic is there.
See, as you're talking, man, because all along, as I was sitting there, I was just trying to put this morning's section just to see how it fits in, and actually, it's actually making sense, and most especially when you mentioned that Paul said something that in Romans,
Yeah.
and that really struck me this morning initially when DSC was talking that actually law and order actually really started from the beginning, from the creation, and my Bible knowledge before was actually this quotation that before the law. So the question that always comes to mind is actually, in the real sense, what happened before the Ten Commandments? There was no sin, or was there any sin? No sin. Okay, if there was no sin, then, but law and order has been before Moses, the law of Moses. So, but then it's made me realize that actually, also because we define, the purpose of law, and which is the doctors describe it as a disorder. So, and that shows that actually, when God created the heaven and earth, there was disorderness. There was disorganization.
Everything was void.
So actually, I don't know if maybe Paul was saying that now in the context of sin and death, but actually there was law before. That was the first thing that God did. That there was order, and it's just my contribution really, just to put that into. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, you do, but we need to discuss it more. And we need to marry the two. The first part is that there has always been law from Genesis, and what Paul said in Romans, that before there was law, there was no sin. Yeah, I think that's what we have to try and marry together. And I think what Paul was trying to say is that when you don't know the law, when you don't know the rule, everything goes. Because before there was law, there was no sin. That doesn't mean people weren't sinning. Only they didn't know it was sin. And it's obvious because sometimes before I'm talking about humanity, yeah? Anybody? Before we come to Christ, there are some things we do freely. we don't even know they are unacceptable. You know, there are some things that are unacceptable. It's like everybody knows that this is a sin. But there are some things you come to know that they are sin, or they should be avoided only after coming to God. And what does coming to God means? It means coming to God's commandment. Because you come into Christianity, and what do you meet? What do you meet? You meet law. I mean, you meet, let it be the two greatest law. Let it be the two greatest commandments. Love God with all your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself. But even in the kingdom of God, there is no hiding away from law. Everywhere you find yourself, there are rules, there are regulations. In family, we have family rules everywhere, because that is where it starts from. So my understanding is this, that there has always been sin, but it wasn't recognized, it wasn't well recognized until the law came. You know, we were doing whatever we wanted to do, and we didn't know we were sinning against God. We were having some consequences, but we didn't really get it until the law came. You know, the law of life, the law of death, then it put things in their places. It put things in their right perspective. So if there was a doubt before that maybe this is wrong, maybe this is right, now with the coming of the law, it's now very clear that this is wrong and this is right. That would be my input, and I hope it helps. Yeah. Any other thing in this line? Okay, let's move on. Okay, we have another quote here saying, by constant self-discipline and self-control, which is almost the same thing, you can develop greatness of character. Yeah. You know, the fruits of the Spirit is talking about character. Yeah. It's talking about character. But here we see that even, it's not something that just comes by being filled with the Holy Spirit. You know, it's a walk. It's a walk, and it's a walk with God. So, constant, then you can develop the greatness of character. Then your muscles, your system, your muscle will remember that this is the kind of life you want, that you want meekness, that you want long suffering, and then your system will help you to acquire it. Let's see the next slide. Discipline means consistency, because in the last quote it said, by constant self-discipline and self-control, you can develop, you can attain the greatness of character. So discipline means consistency. Discipline implies being constant. If you are not constant, you can't say you are disciplined. You may be doing, like when a good act is not done consistently, it is equal to it not being done at all. So, you know, we can be doing some good things, but we get results only when it is consistent. Of course, the person that is doing something inconsistently, we think I'm still better than the person who is not doing it at all. But both of them will get the same result. So if you are doing it, why not do it well? So that you will not end up with the same person that didn't even that didn't even raise a finger. So competing priorities will plague a change effort from beginning to the end. So if we have a lot of priorities that will make us inconsistent, if we are a jack of all trade that will make us inconsistent, then we won't be able to be disciplined. We'll be exhausted, and we will not be able to be disciplined. Without disciplined people acting in a disciplined manner that aligns with the vision, the mission fails every time. Without discipline, acting in a disciplined manner that aligns with my vision or my mission, my commitment, my desire every time they fail. So discipline is so very important in life. Law and order is so very important in life. And of course, law and order also talks about consistency. So discipline, which is inseparable from consistency, is the path to greatness. All right. Do we have any contribution here? Or we can move on? We can move on, right? Okay. All right. Discipline is obedient submission. Discipline is obedient submission to oneself or other authorities in one's life. So you say you have to pay attention to obedient submission because you can either submit yourself or you are made submissive. You know, there are different ways of doing it. It can either be voluntarily or involuntarily. There are different mechanisms that are used, but discipline should be voluntarily. Discipline should be voluntarily. It should be an obedient, submissive. Then you get the best from it when you do that. There are no automatic methods to attaining greatness. It is a routine. It's a manual kind of work. It has to be done manually. It has to be done by you. The process of greatness is a disciplined lifestyle. I think we've spoken about that. At all time, meaning consistency until your last breath. Until your last breath. Because if you are disciplined and then you decide to take a slack, then you start losing all what you've accumulated all these years. So it is not good to slack on discipline. It is not good to say, oh, I've been disciplining myself for 20 years. I want to relax. No. Discipline is life. Discipline is lifestyle. Because once you said, I want to relax, then you start unwinding. You start going back. You start losing all this benefit, all these things you have accumulated. So, I mean, there is no rest in discipline. Discipline is life. Discipline is law. We have to love it till our last breath. So greatness is having supernatural strength, and that comes with working. Greatness is knowing answer to hard questions, and that also comes from working hard, also comes from experiences, comes from asking questions, listen to other people, answering questions, forming your own psychology, forming your own philosophy of the question. Then after sometimes you know the answer to the hard question of life. Greatness is having great, valuable experiences in all the areas of your life. And it comes by working on yourself, seeing different situations, going through different things in life. Because greatness comes with hardship as well. Actually, law and order is a form of hardship because everybody wants to do what they want to do when they feel like doing it. Yeah. And then greatness is not free. We've spoken about this several times. It comes with a price of obedient submission. Because if you fake submission, you won't get the result. It's just like this popular story of a family riding in their car, and they had a son at the back, and the child was standing up. And you know, in the car, you're supposed to sit down, and if it's a child, actually it's supposed to be in a car seat. But I don't know where this was happening, so the child stood up, and the parents were concerned, of course. So they told the child, sit down. And you know, the child would not sit down. Then they had to say it firmly that the child should sit down. So the child sat down and annoyed and said, though I'm sitting down, but I'm still standing up. Yeah. So that's not the kind of submission we are talking about. We have to learn to be disciplined. We have to love to be disciplined. And if that is already our philosophy, then when other people are telling us to be disciplined, we'll love it. It will be like a confirmation because we know that it will work for our good. It will only help us on the long run. All right. Any contribution? Okay, let's move on. Unfortunately, the word discipline has disappeared from the mind, mouth of many people. Unfortunately, it has also disappeared from many pulpits and culture. Yet, there is no other way to attain godliness than discipline. In 2 Timothy 1:7, it says, a very popular passage of the Bible says, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." And if you look at different translation, different version of this verse, you find out that sound mind is translated as self-discipline, translated as judgment, translated as self-control, translated as wise discretion. So God has not given us the spirit of fear. We shouldn't fear order. We shouldn't fear law. We shouldn't fear being disciplined. We shouldn't fear regulation. We shouldn't fear routine. Yeah, He has given us the spirit of self-discipline. We can be disciplined. Once we start, once we are willing, God will help us. Things around us will help us to be disciplined. So discipline comes from a disciplined spirit, from a disciplined mind, because fear, timidity can kill our greatness, our power, our love, and our judgment, our self-discipline, our self-control. But God hasn't given us the spirit of fear. God has given us all we need for life and godliness. And in life, we need discipline. In godliness, we need discipline. So do we have any contribution to this, or we can move on? We can move on, yeah? Okay. All right, this is a quote by Brent Tracy. Self-discipline equates to self-control. We've mentioned that. Your ability to control yourself and your actions, control what you say and do, and ensure that your behaviors are consistent with long-term goals and objectives is the mark of a great person, the mark of a superior person. Let's move on. Discipline is doing what you have to do excellently when you must do it, whether you feel like it or not. Self-discipline is doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Anonymous? This other one is not anonymous because something was added in bracket. It's one of my leaders that added that. Self-discipline is the ability to do what you should do, when you should do it, how you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. So all these things are pointing to the fact that discipline is greater than feelings. Discipline is above feelings. How we feel, either it's cold or it's too warm, how people will look at us. Discipline rises far above all that. You know, discipline doesn't consider confusing feelings, doesn't consider feelings that doesn't go in its direction, that doesn't help to attain the goal that is planned to attain. Do we have any contribution to this before we move on? Okay, let's move on. A quote, anonymous. Develop self-discipline. Do what needs to be done, even if you don't want to do it. You know, most of the times, discipline is what we don't want to do. You know, it's when we get older, when we get to understand some things, then maybe we can want to do some because we know what we will get. But we all start out with, why are you imposing law? Why are you restricting me? Why are you, you know, when I was younger, I was aiming at leaving my parents' house because I just want to be on my own. I just want to do what I wanted to do. But when we get older, you feel like going back. So, discipline yourself. Develop self-discipline. Do what needs to be done, even if you don't want to do it. If you don't feel like doing it. Man must do what must be done. So do it now, not later. Because later may never come. And another thing you realize is that when you overcome your feeling, and when you start doing what you have to do, then the right feeling will come. You know, an encouraging feeling will come. And then after some time, you will start enjoying what needs to be done. Let's go to the next slide, please. 4 elements of discipline. That is from the quotes we read a few slides back. So, elements of discipline: getting things done. Getting things done, not just doing things, but getting it done, finishing it. And that's a long journey. Finishing. We must have a mentality of getting things done. You know, not just starting here, living is starting. I mean, getting things done. No, I've done this. Number 1, I've done this. Trying to finish. Because we get a lot of distraction along the way. Oh, I started to do this. I started to read this book. I started to clean this place. A phone came. Another thing came. No, we must build our life and see our life. I get things done. I would rather not touch it. I would rather not start. But if I start, I respect myself and I get things done. Second, doing things right. When doing things the right way. You know, you can do things and, you know, I mean, I have this problem with some attires I get from Africa. You know, beautiful, but the seams are not straight. I mean, there will always be some kind of, you know, things not done right. Yeah, I have the clothes. It was done, but it wasn't done right. It wasn't done well. You know, sometimes, you know, people cook. Yeah, it was done, but it wasn't cooked well. I have challenges sometimes with my children, you know, cleaning the house. They will tell you they've cleaned it, and you go there and you wonder if anybody ever touched anything, you know. And they will tell you, we've done it. So, doing things right, doing things the right way, and doing things right, those are elements of discipline. Doing things on time. Doing things on time, you know. When we were smaller, they would tell us to do things, and we say we'll do it later. You know. So I also tell my children, go and do it. I will do it later. I will do it later. That's a sign of indiscipline, because that later may never come. So the more disciplined a person is, the more timely he is or she is in doing what needs to be done. And the last element of discipline from those quotes is getting things done in an excellent way. You know, you can get things done, but there is a height above that. That is surpassing the expectation. Doing it excellently, more than is required of you. Doing it in an excellent way. Putting your best in it. always looking for more creative ways of doing what you have to do. Do we have any contribution so far? Anything? Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see the next slide. Okay. Pride makes us think that we don't need discipline, especially if we are adults, especially if maybe we have education, or we are married, or we are in certain area. I remember one stage of my life when people will ask me to do something for them, and they will ask me, do they need to remind me to do it? And I would say no. And then I realized that either I forget to do that thing. So when I got that, when people ask me, should they remind me? I say, yes, remind me many times. And I realized that when I tell people to remind me, feel free to remind me, I found out that I even get most of the things done before they ever get to remind me. So pride and discipline, they don't coexist. They are antagonistic. They don't help one. Actually, well, if we say discipline is obedient submission, you can imagine there's no way pride can help our discipline. Discipline is the process by which God shapes and molds us into the person He wants us to become. We've spoken about that. Nobody likes discipline, at least not at first. Not soldiers, athletes, children, or the average adults like them either. But after a while, doing the things we don't like or want to do does become much more enjoyable, especially when we start to see the result.